We're going to get started on this branding call. I'm so excited about this call. This has been one that we have definitely wanted to do for so long, and it's definitely about time. We're there. We are absolutely there. Patty, are you on the call?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I wanted to introduce you all to Patty. I don't think a lot of people know who Patty is, but I'm going to give a little background on Patty. When we first decided to go from Alcone at home to LimeLight, I went out to probably one of the best branding firms in New York City and asked them to take this on to help us with this new logo and this new image. And they put me with Patty. And it was like the greatest blessing ever. So we started on this process of rebranding ourselves as LimeLight. And it was, I would say, effortless. Wouldn't you say, Patty, for us?
Not pretty easy. It was pretty hectic.
Patty worked very hard on it, but we all were on the very same page. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about when we were picking out the logo. Patty, Madison, and I were standing in front of a bunch of vision boards of all this work that Patty and her partner had done on creating a lot of different logos and options for us. Patty, would you say there was like 50?
There was a lot.
There was a lot. So we all were looking at these, and they were all incredible. It was really hard to choose. And I asked Patty, which one is your favorite one? And she picked the one that Madison and I liked. And the reason why you liked it, Patty, and I think we all said the same thing, is it's very different. It's totally, the other ones were awesome and they told a story, but this one took us to a different place, all three of us, a totally new, fresh place that we had never seen. And that basically, I'm telling this story because it really does set the tone for what we're trying to communicate tonight. So we are really lucky to have Patty. She's worked on so many amazing beauty brands. She's also worked with other direct selling companies. So she knows very much both industries. And she has been the voice that has really driven this brand on this transition. And as she calls it, like a journey, right, Patty? It's a constant evolution. But when you guys see the next catalog, which I'm going to beg Patty to give you guys a sneak peek, which is she's in really, I would say, the final phases of doing a lot of this, and then we're doing the photo shoot next week. You're going to see a catalog like you've never seen before in direct sales. And I am so excited about this. So what we wanted to do is talk to you all about branding. And we could, this conversation could be, 800 hours long. I mean, people do this 4 years in college. But what we're going to try to do, and my goal tonight, is for you guys to see how important branding is in the very big picture of making LimeLight one of the best beauty brands in the world. It's so hugely important to this process. So that's why I really want us to make sure that at the end of this conversation, if you get nothing out of this, you understand that you, as a beauty guide, are such an integral part of branding. And we really need everyone to understand how they are branding their own businesses and how they're branding LimeLight and what effect that is having on not only the growth of their business, but on the culture of LimeLight and how we're moving forward as a company. So to get started, I think a lot of you would probably know what branding is, but basically what, I like this quote from Forbes magazine. In the most important sense of the brand is a promise. So how we present our brand is what we're promising to people. And our brand is very much a very modern but approachable brand. It is pro-woman, and it is something that every woman should feel like she has a strong positive emotion towards. Branding is not just our logo, it's not just our packaging. It's in everything you guys say, it's in everything you do, it's in your social media postings, it's in conversations you have on the street when people know you're a beauty guide and you're just talking to them. It's in everything that you guys express, both online and belly to belly. And I think I pulled out another quote here, which is, your brand has to plant itself in the hearts and minds, but especially the hearts of prospects and customers. And it's so interesting when I think about people that I know their business intimately, like the beauty guides who I know have a very strong business. It really is a trust that sometimes takes a long time to build. But it's also when you build a brand in your personal brand, and you build it right, you're building a very strong foundation that's not a flash in the pan, but is an actual trustworthy entity. And that is what we're shooting for. So I know Patty and I had phrased this a different way, but the real question is, why is LimeLight so obsessed with branding right now? Because a lot of times Patty and or Christine, we'll ask Christine to send a message to people saying, okay, don't put that up, or don't do this, and, don't do that. And we don't mean to be the branding police, but I think the real answer to this question is, this brand is so young, and we're right now only reaching a few thousand people when we post something on Instagram or Facebook. You guys are often, what you do and say is often their very first impression of LimeLight. So if we don't get everyone on the same page about the brand right now, we are going to be like a hodgepodgey mess. So it's super important while we're young and while we have a limited reach, for you all to sort of step in line with the branding that Patty and Lauren are working so hard to achieve. Because if we look unified and if we're all walking in the same direction, there's going to be huge long-term benefits to that for all of us. Some of the slides in here are going to be a little shocking to some people because we're trying to be very direct with you tonight on branding. We really want to be as efficient as possible as we sort of coach you guys on branding. And I don't want anyone to take anything the wrong way. There are other brands out there who have done their own thing, and they should. Every brand has to express themselves in the way that they want to. So when I say we are not this brand, it's not to be rude. It's to say we're giving you sort of a guideline, a visual of how they're different from what we're trying to accomplish. I want to be very clear on that point. So branding in the long term is so hugely important. And sometimes people get impatient with establishing good branding. And they want that flash in the pan moment where their sales spike up $1,000. And oh my gosh, if I just put this, if I scatter my Instagram with all of this, I'm going to get $1,000 in sales. Okay. That might be true, but the long-term effect of doing something like that has to be considered. You have to think about how your friends are perceiving you as a beauty guide and the brand when you do things like that. You have to be so strategic. And I put on the goal sheets, and when I put on our daily worksheets, what you guys should be doing in terms of spending your time. I often put social media strategy there because it is a strategy. And that might sound disingenuous and sort of obnoxious. I'm not saying don't let your personality shine through. I'm saying be very strategic about how you make your goals happen using social media and using things that are encompassed of branding. So the reason why this is so important in the long term is because when you brand yourself as a high-end brand, as a trustworthy brand, you're going to have potential recruits that are more positive and are more likely to succeed. So I've basically taken all three aspects of your business there, and I've extracted from all the branding research that's been done how this is going to positively affect your business. Your potential recruits, the culture is going to be more, they're all going to see your brand as more likely to succeed, trustworthy, and happier, right? It's not a cutthroat brand. It's a very happy brand. You're blissfully happy, joyfully celebrating your involvement in Limelight. And that's the type of person that you are going to attract. We hear it all the time. You know, positive attracts positive, negative attracts negative. So you definitely want to attract that positive, and your leadership experience is going to be so much better when you take faith in the process of building a long-term brand, a long-term high-end brand. Also, your potential customers, how do they see you when they see a cohesive brand between our company and what you're presenting? It gives them peace of mind, believe it or not, because they know what they're getting. It saves them on their decision-making time because they start to trust you. And they say, you know what, I don't want to go to Ulta and search all the aisles and try to figure out the best thing. I trust this person. And then finally, when you brand yourself, your potential hostesses, if you brand yourself high-end, they're going to invite customers that they think are going to connect with your brand. They're also going to be more likely to host a party for you because, hey, you're hosting a party, you know, like for a high-end brand, this is an association that they have. And they're going to be really excited about it. You know, if nobody wants to host a party for a direct selling company that they don't feel confident and trust in, it doesn't happen. They'll do it, but you know, they'll kind of grumble doing it. And that's not what you don't want to put anyone in that position. So Patty and I really did want to get across this one point, which is really important. Our major points of difference is driven basically in our visuals, in what we say, and how we operate. We are a professional beauty company that went into the direct sales platform. We are not direct sales who decided to jump into beauty. I say that time and time again. It's like my biggest mantra because it's really important for women to understand. If you see the direct sales community, there's some definite uniformity to how the direct sales community brands itself. And then if you look at high-end beauty brands, if you connect all those together and you look at their branding, it also has its own distinct look. So the question is, which one do we want to be? Do we want to be more direct salesy, or do we want to be more high-end beauty? The answer is actually neither one of them. We want to blaze our own trail on this, and we want to be high-end beauty with that approachable friendliness of direct sales. A lot of you post on your on the Fempire, and you post in your own personal pages about certain aspects of our branding that you know matters to you and your customers, and it drives your business in a very positive direction. So you're already experiencing branding in the way that we're talking about it. Corporate has sort of laid it out there, right? So Patty has designed these amazing boxes and ribbons, And so when someone opens this up, instead of it being sort of in a brown box or just being shipped in a brown box and you open up the product right out of there, everything's wrapped like a present. It feels special, right? This is all part of our branding effort. Our secondary packaging, there's so much thought that goes into that secondary packaging. And we could use some generic packaging, but we actually put a ton of thought. I mean, the inside being black and the outside having that overlay. These are all very strategic decisions that Patty made, and it makes a difference. The consumer sees that. They see the subtlety of the overlay, and it gives them an impression. It gives them an emotion, a feeling like we're not gaudy, we're not out there, but there's just this like subtle beauty to what we do. And then this one, our watercolor palettes. When I I actually used to do the graphic design when it was Alcone at home, and it was me running the company, and I had nobody. I was doing graphic design and everything else, and I'm not a graphic designer. About 400 years ago, when I went to college, I took one course, and that is my expertise. But the difference in our watercolor palettes versus what I launched with at Alcone at home is night and day. It gives the feeling of approachability, but it's so different and it's so beautifully modern. So that's just a little bit that you can look to about what we're doing in branding to help drive the strategy that you need to implement moving forward. Patty and I sort of put this together, and I think it helps you. Again, this may seem harsh what we're saying here, but we really just want to define who we are. And whenever we do something, we should be asking ourselves, am I presenting myself in the way that we want to be presented, or am I presenting myself in the way that we don't want to be presented? And it's funny because I just had this like aha moment when we were looking at this, going, you know what, I need to be so much more cognizant of these lists, and I want to ask my good friends, what is your feeling like? Give me 3 words to describe LimeLight. How would you describe it? And I'd like to see if their feedback on how I'm presenting the brand to them on a personal level matches these lists. And it might be an exercise that you want to do. Again, many of your friends see a lot more of your posts and your parties and how you present the parties and the presentation than they do anything from corporate. So, get some feedback on that. But it's really important that we are accessible, professional, diverse. We're simple, sophisticated, modern. My family's marching in. I don't know if you can hear them in the background. Beautiful, quality, premium. We're safe. That's a big one. We're clean. I think we have beautiful there twice, Patty. Approachable, white, artistic, fun, and feminine. What we are not is really also important. We're not pretentious. We're not value-based. We're not indistinguishable or complicated. We aren't bargain basement or old-fashioned. We're not self-absorbed. We're not cheap, trashy, toxic, cluttered, ugly, aloof, overly colorful. We're not clinical. We're not too serious, and we're not masculine. We really want to try to avoid those things. And a couple of things that you may have noticed in the marketplace, which I think are worth mentioning. Avon, who is such a trailblazer in what we're doing. I mean, I feel like we need to constantly applaud them because they really did blaze the trail for where we are right now. But they definitely got this brand perception that they were sort of old ladyish after a while. And they tried very hard and spent a ton of money to reverse that thinking and make themselves more youthful, more modern. And they did a very good job of it. But in the consumer perception, it was already too late. Their decision had been made. So even though they were seeing new packaging, new logos, it didn't matter. So the point of me telling you that story is that once you become something on the we are not list, it can be very difficult to change people's thinking. Um, the other thing I want to pull out of this we are not list is this idea of deals and sales. Sometimes it's very easy as a salesperson to just want to go out there and shout with a megaphone about the next deal and the next collection of how much you can save. What happens there is people see your brand as a bargain, and they see it as, oh, well, I'm never going to pay full price for this. I'm going to wait till I get that coupon or when that sale comes out. And that's when I'm going to buy LimeLight. But other than that, they're not worth the retail price that they say that they're worth. And that's definitely a dead end. You do not want to lead people down because it's going to affect the long-term viability of your business. Because we are not a bargain brand. We are not going to go on sale a lot. There's not going to be a lot of buy 3, get this one free. We've actually moved away from that. We really want people to understand why our products are worth 4 times the retail price of what we're selling them for. And that's what you want to get communicated in terms of the quote unquote bargain of LimeLight, is that this is incredibly high end product and worth every penny that they're going to spend. Here are some visuals of sort of what we are not. Again, this is what I'm presenting to you here on the right is not to bash any of these companies. This works for them. They're happy, like they're successful, they're thriving in the brand that they're building. But it is not LimeLight. It is not us. And I think that's really important to know the difference. Again, not bad, just different. And so we really wanted to put some visuals out there for you to see. Patty, do you want to work on, why don't you take it over on this page and please add to anything I said, Patty, if I missed anything.
Sure. So just to build on everything Michelle's already taken everybody through, the importance of this journey, because we are a young brand, this is a critical point in time where it's really within our control to define where LimeLight goes and how it's perceived. So a big one and is really just the basic guidelines of using our trademark brand logo. And this is just a mini snapshot, just a mini page. And I'd like to say that we do recognize that as a company, as a home office, we do owe a much more in-depth, I'll call it a brand Bible to everybody. And that is something that we are working on. It's a work in progress. But this is sort of the basic thing that everybody needs to be on the same page with, which is really just how we use our corporate or home office logo. So very easy guidelines, some colors, colorations. It should always be used with the verbiage independent beauty guide. Different formats that are acceptable. I think it's pretty straightforward. When it gets a little muddy is where some examples of where it is unacceptable usage. And I think you can see right away, I think everybody on this call can probably pick out the things that in the bottom red box that were altered. And some of them are a little bit more dramatic than others, but I'm sure everybody can look at each one of those and say, well, there's something missing or there's something a little off. And it's that something missing or something a little off, which over the course of time actually can grow and become a bigger and bigger issue for a brand and maintaining that brand identity that we're trying to build. Some questions we've received, from the artwork requests. We've gotten a lot of wonderful feedback and questions. And what are some of the things that we can do to use font styles? What kind of font styles, when we want to write text with our corporate logo, are acceptable? And pretty basic. We have a font family that we recommend that beauty guides use. The Helvetica New standard. We have light, ultralight, Roman, different weights. And then I say Dido, some people say Dido, font, and in basic and in italic. So it's a pretty straightforward interpretation, and I think that there are different versions here that can suit different needs. We realize that there are times when you're going to need this in one color, you may need it in all black or all white, and those are things that we can offer and we can give to you. I think when you start looking at some of the dramatic alterations in that red box, that's the area we want to avoid.
All right, thank you, Patty. We'll leave you all with this last quote, but basically, let me just I'm going to go back to this. I think the really important piece to this that everyone needs to walk away with is you all are leaders. You're driving and building this company. And I'm not building it. Patty's not building it. You guys are building it. So we all need to be sort of on the same page with our branding. And I can't sort of stress that enough. This is when you becoming a founding beauty guide is like critical. You know, it's not just a title, it's in your actions. It's in what you do, because a founding beauty guide really does have a responsibility to the greater good of everybody's businesses, to be sort of working in collaboration to build this brand in the right direction. Sometimes it's very hard to trust that this is important and to trust that it's going to really significantly affect the bigger picture. But I promise you, and Patty promises you, that this is absolutely the right direction for you to all just stop, be very strategic about the branding that you're presenting and how it affects your business and how it affects your customer and potential beauty guides' perception of LimeLight. That's really all we're asking. And a lot of people, I think, were waiting for the sort of do's and don'ts. And there are some do's and don'ts here. And as Patty said, she's going to be building a portfolio for you guys to be pulling off of. But the real purpose of this meeting tonight is to really just have everyone understand the significance and the importance and the long-term benefits of a unified brand. So I hope that did come across tonight. I'm sure you're like, yeah, Michelle, you said it like 400 times, so how could we not get this? But the truth of the matter is that is of paramount importance. In fact, it's so important that Patty really does, and she can confirm this, she really does in many cases have free reign budgetary wise on how to make this brand cohesive. Wouldn't you say, Patty? I mean, a lot of times she'll ask me, can we do this? Can we do that? And oftentimes the answer is yes, because I trust her ability to drive this brand and make it a very high-end beauty brand, which is what's going to benefit all of you so much in the long run. So I cannot thank you enough for being on this call. We have a new system now where it does actually just sort of mute everyone because we're in the hundreds of attendees. So if you do have specific questions about branding, I guess we can, if you're on chat right now and you want to start chatting them up, we can answer those questions. Okay, Lisa has said that, these are all very good questions. Lisa's asked if we can have this presentation on hand, and actually your green room right now in the resource tab, it is in there. Under business materials, you'll see this branding presentation. And I'm going to make some modifications because as I went through it, I saw some typos. So we'll re-upload that with the correct spelling. Chelsea asked Patty, what does the ray represent?
That's it. It's the ray. It's the light. It was inspired by the name by LimeLight.
It's a modern ray.
Yeah. Don't need to overthink that one.
Patty, do we tell them what my brother said about it when he first saw it?
No.
We don't want to think. Why does it dip below the L?
Why does it dip below the L?
Why does the ray dip below the L, Patty?
It's sometimes these things you can't overthink. It's just aesthetically where the design landed. I mean, the one thing that is nice is sort of the focal point, the dot in the ray. It does share the baseline with the L, so it sort of grounds the icon.
They're all saying it's lovely, but can you also speak to, and this is kind of interesting because I know a lot of these girls, like, are going to be using this in different ways. I've often found that it's very hard to center the L, right, Patty? We've talked about this in a lot of different ways, and
yeah, I wish I had that foresight. It is not easy. It's not something that you can mathematically use a mathematical or grid to do it, because it is off center. There's something not perfectly centered. So it really is something that takes a little bit of practice to do by eye.
Yes. Awesome. Anything else? Okay. Someone wrote, can we add our beauty guide websites to pictures found on the corporate Facebook page or from pictures provided in corporate emails? Can they add their website link at the bottom of those images, Patty?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think, try to download these fonts that Patty has, and then you can see, you'll see the difference right away. And sometimes, with all the new apps and stuff, people like to do like some fun, funky stuff with the apps. But again, let's establish the brand as a group of founders before we try to loosen the reins a little bit, if that's okay. Because I just think that it's kind of like when I was a teacher. When I was a teacher, you walk into the classroom and you're sort of like really strict, and everyone thinks, oh my God, I hate this person. She's awful. And then after everything's established and we all feel like we can trust each other and we're comfortable, you loosen your personality a little bit. And what happens as a result is everybody just has this wonderful connection and communication from there on out. And that's how I feel like we need to do this between us and our customers. It's got to be like we're presenting ourselves as a very like, this is who we are, so that they can gain that trust in us, and then we can get a little bit more a little more whimsical with it. But okay. Yes, people say keep the font the same. Is the logo on the Fempire to download now? The one I have saved doesn't have Independent Beauty Guide associated. It's just the L. That's a great question. Thank you. We are going to upload all in your resource tab after I get off the phone. I'm going to upload a bunch of JPEGs that have this image with the Independent Beauty Guide. People ask, well, what's the big deal about Independent Beauty Guide? It is very important that people understand when things are coming from you as an independent beauty guide or from corporate. That's definitely an important thing. Okay. We are going to be pulling actually a lot of stuff off the Facebook files because we're going to be using our resource tab now. It's just a lot easier for us to manage. So be looking out for that. Okay, people are saying they're not seeing this presentation in their back office. If you go to your resource tab and you click on that, you should scroll down and it should be at the bottom. It should say business materials. I'll check it. If it's not working, I will make sure that it's uploaded after this. Okay, and someone asked, so if we want to print, say, return address labels, if we use the corporate logo, the top longer one, is that okay, Patty?
Return address labels? Yes, as long as Independent Beauty Guide is with the corporate logo, yeah.
Right, so that number one would work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. People are asking, can you upload with a transparent background?
We can, and actually, I believe we've done that for Christine upon request. But there are so many different formats that I know everybody wants and needs. Transparent backgrounds, different, white on clear, black on clear. We will get to them. It just takes some time for us to get through all the priorities, but I do understand that there is a need for all of these tools, because these are tools, and you need them to run your business. So we will be getting to all of the different file format versions.
Right. Perfect. Someone else writes, does every Facebook post need to include a logo now? No. Right, Patty?
No.
No. This is just, if you are going to include a logo, just make sure that you're using these sort of logos with the independent beauty guide on them.
And another thing that I think we may have posted something on the Fempire. There are going to be times when you're referring to LimeLight by Alcone, and you can't physically fit your designed logo, whether it's in a post or a long text. The only thing we ask is that you capitalize the L's, understanding that sometimes you just can't put artwork into a lengthy post, a blog, or just something to be mindful of. Any little bit of our brand image that we can maintain in every touch point is really the best way to go.
Yep, perfect. Someone just asked on the Fempire, when you said do not tell customers we have sales, we just had a Valentine's Day sale. Is that different from what I mean? Definitely. I mean, I think there's certain occasions like Valentine's Day. We'll probably have another one for Mother's Day. Fingers crossed we'll have one for Father's Day with the men's line. But, we do a couple of times a year, we do like special price collections. I guess we call it a collection. People perceive it as a sale, but we're not the brand that's going to have a sale every Friday. We're not going to have the Monday deal, the Thursday steal. What happens is that you basically condition your customer to really only buy when there's a sale. I mean, have you ever paid full price at the Gap for anything? Like there's certain brands that have this sort of strategy, but that strategy is encompass of their entire business plan. It's important to see that business as in its totality. When you look at LimeLight in its totality, it's not a bargain brand. It's not a sale brand. It's a very well price pointed, high end beauty brand. That really is what we are. Okay, let's see. Someone asked, does a logo on the packaging count? Maybe you can expand on that question. I'm not sure. Okay, so someone wrote, if I post a selfie and I want to put the enduring lip tube in the picture too, do I need to use the logo? Can I say in the post what it is without using the logo? I think people are really afraid to post selfies and videos without breaking policy. I did get a lot of questions on that. That's great. Okay, so there's not like a policy. You're not like breaking policy, right, Patty? I mean, I think we need to sort of clarify this. It's more of a strategy. You really want to just stop and think about that question in terms of your own business and in terms of what we're presenting to you tonight. You guys are smart, strategic, amazing people. I mean, so much better than I could have ever dreamt in a million years. But what you want to do is you want to think about, okay, when I post this selfie with the enduring lip tube, and the logo showing, is that enough? I mean, is that enough for you to present the brand? Do you have to put the logo in the corner? No, I don't think you do. And Patty and I often, when we're doing our social media posts, we have to ask ourselves this all the time, right, Patty? A lot of times it'll say, we'll say, okay, let's just do this post. Like we just did one with just a knitted sweater and a cup of coffee, hot cocoa in a wintry window. I don't think you put the logo on that one, Patty, because it's just what we were trying to do was create an emotion in that visual. And again, remember that's part of the branding, getting to the heart of people. It is really what you're trying to do with your branding. So that that image had nothing to do with Limelight. It didn't even have Limelight's logo. What we were strategically trying to do was create this emotion of someone who looks just content and happy and warm, and that's why we put the post copy warm, cozy, and working from home. Um, so I hope that answers the question. I think if something is sort of blatantly wrong, we might go to you and say, hey, next time, why don't you do this, this, and this? Nobody's going to be suspended for having an image up that's not, in line with the brand. It's just going to be more of a culture of suggestion, so that we're all on the same page, right? Um, and that's definitely the important part. Um, and then this last piece I think is really interesting because this guy Jeremiah Gardner he works with a lot of startup companies and he's just really fantastic. Um, and he says the best place to start is to understand what a brand isn't. Your brand isn't your logo. Your brand isn't your visual identity system or your Retina ready website. It isn't your color scheme or even your wonderful product. And most importantly, your brand isn't what you say it is. Your brand is what they say it is. They meaning people meaning humans, and humans meaning the intuitive, flawed, and emotive beings we all are. In other words, your brand is a gut feeling that's rooted deep within people. It's a feeling because people are emotional, instinctive beings. It's a personal feeling because brands are defined by individuals, one by one, human by human. And when enough individuals arrive at the same gut feeling, we have a brand. And that is the entire point of this. You are the one to one. You are the human to human. And if all of us do this stepping in stride, we're going to have a brand. So I love these chats that I'm getting. So I think this is a springboard. It's a starting point. From this point on, everyone who has sort of been here and listened to this, you are sort of like the brand, suggesters, the brand educators. And it's not going to be Patty and I trolling social media to make sure that everyone's using things correctly. It really has to be all of us because it matters to all of us. So thank you so much for being on this call. We're going to keep presenting about brands because it's that important. But for the time being, if you're a leader with a downline, please make sure that everyone understands this information, replicate this call, have them listen to the recording, and this is definitely like one long leap towards our inevitable greatness, right? So have an amazing night, you all, and thank you so much for being here.